We all have to kind of assess where we're at. Decisions either way will be made, and we'll get to the rest of what the future looks like.
Seriously, between Steph, Draymond, Jimmy Butler, and LeBron, they'd have to get a lot of the pins because all those geezers on the same team.
The Golden State Warriors championship window is closing fast. Golden State Warriors entered this offseason knowing they couldn't afford to waste another year of Stephen Curry's career. Around the NBA, nearly every contender made aggressive moves to improve its roster, while blockbuster trades reshaped the league. Expectations were high that Golden State would also make a major splash. Instead, the Warriors have found themselves in a difficult position, despite exploring several high-profile opportunities. The franchise has yet to land another superstar to pair with Curry, leaving many fans wondering whether the organization missed its final chance to build one last championship team around its greatest player. The pressure is easy to understand. Stephen Curry continues to perform at an elite level despite being in the later stages of his career. Even as he approaches the twilight of his NBA journey, he remains one of the league's most dangerous scorers and offensive playmakers. Few players in basketball history have maintained this level of excellence at his age. Golden State knows exactly what they have in Curry. Franchise legends like him rarely come around, and organizations don't often get multiple opportunities to compete for championships with players of his caliber. That's why this offseason carried enormous importance. The Warriors weren't content with standing still. Reports throughout the year connected them to several superstar players as they searched for another elite running mate alongside Curry, Jimmy Butler, and Draymond Green. Their front office clearly understood that adding another star could immediately transform them back into legitimate title contenders. Unfortunately, none of those plans came together. To understand why the Warriors became so desperate this summer, it's important to look back at the moves they made during the previous season. The trade deadline. Golden State made one of the boldest decisions of the year by acquiring Jimmy Butler. It was a risky move that required sacrificing valuable depth and future assets. But the organization believed Butler's playoff experience and competitive mentality would perfectly complement Curry and Green. Initially, that gamble looked brilliant. Once Butler joined the lineup, the Warriors played some of their best basketball in years. Their defense improved dramatically, the team's confidence returned, and they began climbing the Western Conference standings. Whenever Curry, Butler, and Draymond Green shared the floor together, Golden State looked like a genuine championship threat. The chemistry between the three veterans gave fans hope that one final title run might actually be possible. Then everything changed during the playoffs. Curry suffered a hamstring injury at the worst possible time. Without their superstar on the court, the Warriors struggled to generate offense, and their postseason run quickly came to an end. That injury exposed the biggest weakness facing this roster. Golden State's championship hopes depend almost entirely on the health of aging stars. Curry, Butler, and Green have decades of NBA mileage combined, making injuries an unavoidable concern as the season gets longer. When everyone is healthy, the Warriors can compete with almost anyone. When even one key player is unavailable, the margin for error disappears. The following season offered another opportunity to prove that the previous playoff exit was simply bad luck. Golden State opened the year playing strong basketball. Their defense ranked among the league's best. Butler fit naturally into Steve Kerr's system, and Curry continued to produce at an all-NBA level. For stretches of the season, they looked like a dangerous playoff team capable of upsetting higher-seeded opponents, but consistency became a major problem. Injuries once again interrupted momentum, forcing the coaching staff to constantly adjust rotations. While younger teams improved throughout the year, the Warriors relied heavily on veteran players carrying enormous workloads. That strategy became increasingly difficult over an 80-game season. Meanwhile, other Western Conference contenders continued getting younger faster and deeper. The gap between Golden State and the league's elite slowly became more noticeable. This offseason represented an opportunity to close that gap. Instead of making incremental improvements, the Warriors reportedly explored multiple blockbuster scenarios involving superstar talent. The front office appeared willing to take another massive swing if it meant maximizing Curry's remaining championship window. However, negotiations never resulted in a deal, whether because of financial limitations, competing offers, or players choosing different destinations. Golden State watched opportunity after opportunity disappear. Now the franchise faces a difficult reality. Their core remains talented, experienced, and capable of winning important games. But every passing season increases the challenge. Age is undefeated in professional sports. Curry continues to perform like one of basketball's greatest offensive players. Yet expecting him to carry the entire organization every single night becomes less realistic each year. Jimmy Butler still provides toughness, leadership, and playoff experience, but durability remains a question. Draymond Green continues anchoring the defense with his intelligence and versatility, although he also enters the later stages of his remarkable career. Together, they're still capable of competing. The problem is whether they can stay healthy long enough to survive another deep playoff run. The Western Conference has become incredibly competitive. Several teams possess younger stars, deeper benches, and greater roster flexibility, making every postseason matchup more difficult than ever. Golden State no longer enters a season as the obvious favorite. Instead, they'll need excellent health, consistent chemistry, and contributions from younger role players if they hope to challenge for another championship. Perhaps the biggest question is what happens next. The organization remains committed to Stephen Curry, and Curry has repeatedly expressed his desire to finish his legendary career wearing a Warriors uniform. It's a story every basketball fan can appreciate. A franchise icon, staying loyal to the team where he became a superstar. But loyalty alone doesn't guarantee championships. The Warriors must find a way to maximize whatever time remains in Curry's career, while also preparing for the future after this historic era eventually comes to an end. That balancing act won't be easy. Every decision now carries enormous consequences. Golden State still possesses championship experience, elite coaching, and one of the greatest players basketball has ever seen. Those advantages should never be underestimated. At the same time, the margin for error has become smaller than ever before. The coming season could determine whether this legendary core gets one final opportunity to compete for another NBA title or whether one of basketball's greatest dynasties quietly reaches its conclusion. For the Warriors, every game now matters, every roster decision becomes critical, and every healthy month for Stephen Curry may be another precious step toward one last championship chase.
Jimmy's injury just changed everything.
The Golden State Warriors season unraveled faster than almost anyone expected. What started with championship hopes slowly turned into one setback after another, proving just how fragile an aging roster can be. The biggest blow came when Jimmy Butler suffered a season-ending ACL injury. Before going down, Butler had been one of the team's most consistent players, providing scoring, leadership, and defensive intensity. His absence immediately changed the identity of the Warriors. Things only got worse from there. Just days later, Stephen Curry was sidelined with a knee injury that forced him to miss a significant stretch of games. Without their franchise superstar, Golden State struggled to generate offense and lost the rhythm that had kept them competitive earlier in the season. The injury bug wasn't finished. Moses Moody also went down, further reducing the team's depth and forcing head coach Steve Kerr to constantly shuffle the rotation. Throughout the year, the Warriors experimented with dozens of different starting lineups, making it nearly impossible to build consistency. The results reflected the chaos. After Butler's injury, Golden State's record collapsed, and the team slipped out of the playoff race. A roster built around 3 future Hall of Famers suddenly looked vulnerable, exposing the challenges of relying on veteran stars throughout a long NBA season. Still, the Warriors refused to quit. They battled their way into the play-in tournament, giving fans one last reason to believe. Curry delivered a vintage performance in the opening game, reminding everyone why he's considered one of the greatest players in basketball history. But keeping that level of play going proved too much. In the decisive matchup, the Warriors struggled offensively, and Curry couldn't overcome Phoenix's defensive pressure. The loss ended Golden State's season and raised difficult questions about the future of the franchise. Now the organization faces a critical crossroads, with Curry, Jimmy Butler, and Draymond Green all entering the later stages of their careers. The front office must decide whether this core still has another championship run left or if significant changes are needed. One surprising development came when Draymond Green declined his player option despite having guaranteed money waiting for him. That decision signaled the Warriors weren't ready to accept the end of their title window. Instead, they appeared willing to make bold moves in hopes of giving Curry one final opportunity to compete for another NBA championship. The upcoming offseason could ultimately define how this legendary era is remembered.
I've been in one place for 14 years. It's more of a family to me than anything. Bringing my number down has allowed us to explore a little bit more.
The man said he wanted to explore something bigger. That's the key.
As the offseason unfolded, reports suggested the Warriors were exploring one final blockbuster move to maximize Stephen Curry's remaining championship window. Rather than making small roster upgrades, the organization was reportedly interested in assembling another star-studded lineup around Curry. League insiders linked Golden State to several big names, including LeBron James and Anthony Davis, fueling speculation that the front office was willing to sacrifice future assets for immediate championship contention. The idea was simple: surround Curry with experienced superstars capable of making one last title run. Although those discussions generated plenty of excitement among fans, none of the reported scenarios ultimately came together. Golden State entered the new season without landing another marquee player, leaving the franchise to rely on its current veteran core and hope it still has enough to compete in an increasingly competitive Western Conference.
Hopefully, raise our floor, our competitiveness this year. There's good golf in the Bay. We're an organization that's been there. He knows that.
The Golden State Warriors are running out of time. Every NBA dynasty eventually reaches a point where difficult decisions become unavoidable. For the Golden State Warriors, that moment may have finally arrived. After years of dominating the league and winning multiple championships, the franchise now faces a reality that few fans ever wanted to imagine. Stephen Curry is still playing at an elite level, but time is no longer on the Warriors' side. This offseason was supposed to be the moment that changed everything. While teams across the NBA aggressively upgraded their rosters, Golden State was expected to make one final championship push around Curry. Rumors connected the Warriors to several superstar players, and many believe the front office was preparing one last blockbuster move before Curry's championship window closed for good. But as the weeks passed, nothing happened. Instead of adding another superstar, Golden State watched other contenders improve while they remained on the sidelines. Suddenly, one of the league's most successful organizations found itself asking a difficult question: is this still a championship team? Or is the dynasty slowly coming to an end? To understand how the Warriors reached this point, we have to look back at the previous season. At first, everything looked promising. The roster had experience, championship pedigree, and one of the greatest shooters basketball has ever seen. When healthy, the Warriors showed flashes of being able to compete with any team in the Western Conference. Their defense was strong, the chemistry between veterans looked solid, and there was genuine optimism surrounding the team. Then injuries changed everything. The first major setback came when Jimmy Butler suffered a serious knee injury. Losing a player with his leadership, defense, and playoff experience completely changed the direction of the season. Butler wasn't just another starter, he was expected to be the perfect partner alongside Stephen Curry and Draymond Green. Without him, Golden State immediately became a different team. Unfortunately, the bad news didn't stop there. Stephen Curry also missed significant time because of injury, leaving the Warriors without the engine of their offense. When Curry isn't on the floor, Golden State struggles to create the same movement, spacing, and shooting that made them famous throughout the dynasty. The coaching staff was forced to constantly adjust rotations as more injuries piled up. Different starting lineups were used throughout the season, making consistency almost impossible. Every time the team seemed ready to build momentum, another setback arrived. By the end of the year, the Warriors no longer looked like championship contenders. Instead, they looked like an aging team trying to survive in a conference filled with younger, faster, and deeper opponents. Still, Stephen Curry refused to give up, even in the most difficult moments. He continued to remind everyone why he's considered one of the greatest players in NBA history. Night after night, Curry carried the offense, creating impossible shots and keeping Golden State competitive against younger teams with far more athleticism. But basketball has always been a team sport. One superstar can only do so much, especially at this stage of his career. Expecting Curry to carry an entire franchise every night simply isn't realistic anymore. That's why this offseason became so important. Reports suggested the Warriors explored several major opportunities to strengthen their roster. The front office understood that another elite player could dramatically improve the team's championship chances. Whether those rumors involved established superstars or experienced veterans, one thing became clear: Golden State wasn't interested in rebuilding. They wanted one final title run. However, building a championship roster isn't easy under today's salary cap rules. Every potential trade required difficult sacrifices. Future draft picks, valuable role players, and financial flexibility all became part of the conversation. At the same time, competing teams were making aggressive moves of their own, making the market even more competitive. In the end, the Warriors couldn't land the blockbuster addition many fans expected. That left Golden State entering another season with essentially the same veteran core. There's no question this group still has championship experience. Stephen Curry remains one of basketball's greatest offensive weapons. Draymond Green continues to provide leadership, defensive intelligence, and unmatched competitive fire. The coaching staff, led by Steve Kerr, understands what it takes to win at the highest level, but experience alone doesn't guarantee another championship. The biggest concern is health. As players get older, recovery becomes more difficult, injuries become more common, and maintaining peak performance over an 80-game season becomes an enormous challenge. That reality now follows the Warriors everywhere. Meanwhile, the rest of the Western Conference continues improving. Young stars are entering their prime. Teams have become deeper, faster, and more athletic. Every playoff series demands maximum effort, and every weakness gets exposed. Golden State no longer has the luxury of overwhelming opponents with talent alone. Instead, they'll need perfect chemistry, outstanding health, and contributions from every player on the roster. Perhaps the biggest challenge isn't this season, it's the future. Stephen Curry has repeatedly expressed his desire to finish his legendary career with the Warriors. For fans, that's exactly how the story should end. Franchise icons rarely spend their entire careers with one organization anymore, but loyalty also brings responsibility. If Curry is going to spend his final years in Golden State, the organization must continue giving him a realistic chance to compete. Otherwise, one of the greatest careers in basketball history could quietly fade away. Without another meaningful championship opportunity, the pressure on the front office has never been greater. Every decision matters. Every contract matters. Every trade discussion matters. Because once this era ends, replacing a player like Stephen Curry may be impossible. The Warriors still have enough talent to surprise people. Championship experience can't be measured on a stat sheet, and teams led by all-time great players should never be underestimated. But the margin for error has become incredibly small. One major injury, one disappointing stretch, or one missed opportunity could permanently close the final championship window of the Warriors dynasty. The next season may define how basketball remembers this legendary group. Will Golden State prove that experience and leadership are enough for one final championship run? Or will this season mark the closing chapter of one of the greatest dynasties the NBA has ever seen? Only time will answer that question. But one thing is certain: every game from this point forward carries enormous importance for Stephen Curry, the Warriors, and the legacy they've spent more than a decade building.